How concerned are you about the Russian agenda of Mr. Saakashvili?
Well, we should clearly know that there is something to it, because nobody hides the fact, including Prime Minister himself, that in pre-election period, prior to last year's parliamentary elections, he got $2 billion cash from the Russians, and obviously nobody can take out assets from Russia if you're a Russian oligarch with $2 billion extra money paid for them, unless there is a political will of the Kremlin, and namely head of the Kremlin, so Vladimir Putin. So obviously there is this connection back there. There is this background back there. There are obviously clear conditions set by Putin and his government that's elimination of me as president, and as a person, as a politician. Putin clearly said it many times publicly. It's certainly Georgians steering away Georgia from NATO and Euro-Atlantic institutions, and creating some kind of uncertainty around us, and also resigning to the fact that Russia will continue to occupy an important part of our territory, including 2/3 of our seacoast. So there are clear signs of this kind of pressures coming from Moscow, based on the help they gave to our Prime Minister before the elections.
What do you think about his threats to imprison you? He says that charges may be filed against you for corruption.
Well, first of all, anybody who knows Georgia from inside or outside knows that any charges on corruption would be ridiculous. Georgia was the least corrupt country in Europe, according to the European Union. We did huge progress, and that was very much thanks to what I did personally and what my government did to eliminate corruption in this country. So nobody in Georgia would take these charges seriously. I think people who know here, us, they know very well that not only we didn't steal any money, but we didn't allow anybody else to steal it as well. But certainly Putin's condition was that either I should be physically killed, that's what he said many times, or sent to prison by the government that would come as a result of new elections in Georgia. This government clearly has certain obligations towards Russia, so this kind of talk might be related to this obligation, or as well as to some kind of personal instincts of Prime Minister to eliminate any future political opposition. Our Prime Minister is in prison, obviously on very fake charges. The charges against Minister of Defense are falling apart of my government, and that's a clear case where people thought that these charges would stick, but in fact they're going away. So they don't have very good experience with charging our government, because usually these charges, they never pass any serious examination by any serious, not only court, but court of public opinion. And if they try it in the future, I think they will get even to worse results.
Is it a good idea to have a billionaire running the country?
Well, if the country is rich, and if there are many billionaires, that's not so dangerous. But if the country if the billionaire has half of the GDP of country in his pocket, and he is the richest and by far the richest, then it's a problem in any context, because wherever you are business, you want to push out your competitors and monopolize it. It's a normal instinct of any businessman, especially a big one. If you are running a country, obviously your instinct translates into pushing out opposition, controlling media, and controlling the whole business in that country. And that's not good for economy, that's not good for democracy, and well-being of the citizens. So, and then from my own experience, good politicians very rarely make good businessmen, and vice versa. There are exceptions to the rule, but but that's more or less universal practice, that those two should be kept apart, business and the government business, and business of running business.
Final question. Your legacy, are you still confident that you've laid the foundations for a democratic future in Georgia?
I think what we laid in Georgia is the only exception in post-Soviet space where we can confidently say that we showed that you can have free media, you can have free elections and change your government for elections, at the same time have fast modernization and low crime, low corruption. Because the problem in post-Soviet space was when first opening up democracy happened, the first wave was that it led to rise of crime, to rise of corruption, to declining living standards, and people said, well, if it's democracy, then to the hell with such democracy. Give us a strong hand back to rule the country. And in Georgia, we did the opposite. That's why this example is so dangerous for Vladimir Putin, because we basically proved you can be a democracy and you can be, living standards can grow and things can move very fast. And there can be boom without oil and gas. So yeah, that's I think the most important legacy, combination of those two. Only just saying, oh, you know, I left you free media and some kind of better judiciary and better institutions, we just be happy with that. It's not enough. You should also leave to your people sense and taste of what success looks like.